Hey, Shalom, Yeshua, I'm going to start off. Souls by giving no praise to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushua, Hashem, Kadash. That belongs to the apostles of JMS and honesty, brothers doing the work of the Most High in truth and sincerity. This one, Spirit will just be a quick one. Just on basically, look, the Lord's going to feed us, man. There's, different accounts that I'm going to get into, but these are the accounts that are supposed to lift us in the spirit, right? Make us feel comfort, right? Because what Scripture says in Romans 4:15, the things written aforetime are written for our learning, or is it 14:5? I always forget, but you can look it up. Romans for whatsoever things are written aforetime are written for our learning, right? So there's Exodus 16:11 says, and the Lord Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. So the Lord heard the children of Israel, but you can imagine. You bring aside, you name the food, this, that, and the other. So the Lord, Yahweh Shem El Shai, made a miracle happen, right? It says, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, at even ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh your power. Right, it says, and it came to pass that at evening the quails came up, right, and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay round about the host, right. And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness they lay a small round thing, as small as a hoarfrost on the ground. When the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, it is manna, for they wist not what it was, because the word manna here, you look at it, it literally means what is it? you know, what's this, man? What is this? Right? It says, and Moses said unto them, this is the bread which the Lord hath given you to eat. So in that time, right, when was leaving, what you call it, ancient Egypt, right, the Lord basically made quails to come up out of nowhere and made bread to come from heaven, right? And this was enough to suffice. This was good enough for them to, what do you call it? It was good enough to feed them, right? They were able to survive off of the quail and the manna, right? Could the Lord do something similar in this time? Maybe, possibly. Who knows? We don't know. What the Lord's gonna do in the times to come to protect His elect. All we know is that the Lord is going to protect His elect. Why? Because He has spoken it, right? This is First Kings 17:1. This is, and Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, as Yahweh, God of Israel, liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my sword. Right? And the word of Yahweh came unto him, saying, get thee hence, and turn thee eastward, and hide thyself by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan. And it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. So man, so the Lord basically made it such that birds were feeding Elijah, man. Right? It says, so he went and did according unto the word of the Lord. For he went and dwelt by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan, and the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning. Right, I remember the brother Shkal was speaking about this. He was speaking on this one time. It's flesh. If this is meat, right? I don't know if it goes on to say whether it's flesh, by extension, body, person, body, fat, flesh. I don't know whether this is allegorical for like vegetables or whatever, but just look and understand the word flesh rather than assuming that's meat, right? Lord basically, so that was prepared, man, for Elijah, to eat, whether it was cooked or whether he had to cook it. Oh, we don't know, right? But the Lord basically prepared that, man, right? It says, and bread and flesh in the evening, and he drank of the brook, right? It says, and it came to pass after a while that the brook dried up because there had been no rain in the land, right? It says, and the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, arise, get thee to Zarephath, which belongeth to Zidon. Right, so in this one, once again, so the Lord made it such that Elijah drank of the brook till it ate up, that the Lord sent till the brook dried up, and then the Lord, whilst this was happening, the Lord was sending a raven, right? It says, and the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening, so twice a day, right? You really got to imagine that, right? The Lord was basically like, bringing in the bread, right? Bringing in the flesh, at intervals, so they knew where to go, right? And it's just these stories like this, just like, look, yeah, things are gonna get tough, but these are the things that comfort us, right? This is why the scripture says, knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of thy times, right? Now, will we eat every day? Maybe yes, maybe no. In the case of Elijah, he was eating every day, right? So, in the case that we just read uh, uh, in the book of Exodus, right? They were getting food every day, right? So we don't know how the Lord is going to play this, but we, once again, all we know is that the Lord is going to take care of his elect, right? Which we hope to be a number, right? So it goes on to say, 1 Kings 17:8 says, and the word of Yahweh came unto him, saying, arise, get thee to Zarephath, which belongeth to Zidon, and dwell there. Behold, I have commanded a widow woman there to sustain thee, right? It says, so he arose and went to Zarephath. And when he came to the gate of the city, behold, the widow woman was there gathering of sticks. And he called to her and said, fetch me, I pray thee, a little water in a vessel that I may drink. And as she was going to fetch it, he called to her, and bring me, I pray thee, a morsel of bread in thine hand. And she said, as Yahweh thy power liveth, I have not cake, but an handful of meal in a barrel, and a little oil in a cruse. And behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, that I may go in and dress it for me and my son, that we may eat and die. Right? So reading this, and then also reading the end of the ninth verse, where it says, I have commanded a widow woman there to sustain thee. She wasn't even aware, right? So this is actually a cut on what do you call it, on a free will, because she wasn't actually aware. She was getting ready to commit suicide, right? She was getting ready to commit suicide, but the Lord already had it set up that she would, through her, a miracle would happen, right? So then Elijah said unto her, fear not, right? Go and do as thou hast said, but make me therefore a little cake first, and bring it unto me, and after make for thee and thy son. Right? It says, for thus saith Yahweh, power of Israel, the barrel of meal shall not waste, neither shall the cruse of oil fail, until the day that Yahweh sendeth rain upon the earth. Right? So basically, the example that I always give when I'm speaking on this one is in that Doctor Strange, right? And I believe the end of Doctor Strange, I don't, the first one, right, where he basically calls Thor to come to him, right? And then Thor is drinking a beer, right? And Thor finishes the beer, and as soon as he finishes the beer gets filled up again. That's like not saying that's how it was, how it's gonna happen, but that's just a way of imagining that whole situation, right? So it says, until the day that the Lord Yahweh sendeth rain upon the earth, right? So it's going to last exact amount of time, right? It says, and she went up and did according to the saying of Elijah, and he and her son did eat many days, right? So now can the Lord do that this time once again? Yeah, the Lord did it before, he can do it again. But once again, is he going to, do it exactly the same way this time? We don't know. But what we do know is the Lord is going to take care of his elect, right? So you may not have been, financially able to stock up a lot of food, right? But let's say you've got, a bag of rice and some meat, right? You put the meat in the freezer, right? Somehow your freezer's still working and ain't no electricity, but the Lord made it such, right? And then guess what? You're just there, you forget that you ate the meat yesterday. You go in the freezer, you look it up, you're like, oh shit, there's still meat here. The little rice you had, oh shit, my rice is still there, and it's never empty, right? Or the Lord can do it the way of Elijah, right? Says, and the barrel of meal wasted not, neither did the cruse of oil fail, according to the words of the Lord which he spake by Elijah. Right, so the next story says Bel and the dragon in the Apocrypha, right? Chapter 1, verse 35 says, and Habakkuk said, Lord, I never saw Babylon. So basically, let me read into it. It says verse 32, right? Says, and in the den there were 7 lions, right? And they had given them every day 2 carcasses and 2 sheep, which then were not given to them, to the intent that they might devour Daniel. So basically, what was happening was, it was designed such that by making these lions hungry, right, by overfeeding them and then taking their food away, that they would eat Daniel, right? But the Lord weren't having that, right? So now there was in Jewry a prophet called Habakkuk who had made pottage and had broken bread in a bowl and was going into the field for to bring it to the reapers, right? Uh, it says, but the angel of the Lord said unto Habakkuk, go, carry the dinner that thou hast into Babylon unto Daniel, who is in the lion's den. And Habakkuk said, Lord, I never saw Babylon, neither do I know where the den is. Right? Says, then the angel of the Lord took him by the crown, right, and bare him in the hair of his head, and through the vehemency of his spirit, set him in Babylon over the den. And Habakkuk cried, saying, O Daniel, Daniel, take the dinner which the Most High hath sent thee. And Daniel said, Thou hast remembered me, O God, neither hast thou forsaken them that seek thee and love thee. Right? So once again, this, that neither thou hast remembered me, O God, neither hast thou forsaken them that seek thee and that love thee. Right? The Lord doesn't seek his elect. Right? So in this particular instance, Daniel had no food. Right? He was locked up, had no food. Right, and the Lord basically used an angel to bring the prophet Habakkuk, right, as you read in the book of Habakkuk, right, took the prophet Habakkuk, grabbed him by the hair, took him to Daniel with food in his hands, right, so Daniel was able to eat that way. Now, will the Lord do it in this time? He might not. We don't know, right? But what we do know is the Lord is going to protect his elect, right? So you might be in a situation once again where you yourself might be locked up, or you just ain't got any food, right? And the Lord just manifests a brother to come and deliver you food, right? Nothing is possible. Nothing is impossible with the Most High. Everything is possible. At the end of the day, He's the Lord Yahweh is the one that created the concept of what's possible and what's not possible, right? Nothing is impossible with the Most High, man. Right? So the next account says Matthew 14:15 says, and when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, this is a desert place, right? And the time is now past. Send the multitude away that they may go into the villages and buy themselves victuals. But Yahushua said unto them, they need not depart, give you them to eat. Right? He says, and they say unto him, we have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Right? Yahushua said, bring them hither to me. And he commanded the multitudes to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes. And looking up to heaven, he blessed and brake, and gave the loaves to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitudes. And they did all eat, and were filled. And they took up of the fragments that remained 12 baskets full. And they that had eaten were about 5,000 men, beside women and children. Right? So basically, Yahushua made it whereby 5 loaves, right, and 2 fishes, right, 5 loaves, 2 fishes, were able to feed the multitude, right, and still have leftovers at the end of it, right? Now, can the Lord do that? Yeah, of course he can do that. Will he do that again this time? Will make it such that you have a little bit of food to share between like a group of brothers and their families or whatever? Can that happen? Yeah. Is that how it's gonna happen this time? We don't know, but what we do know is that the Lord is gonna feed his elect, right? And we hope desperately to be of that number, right? So this is Isaiah 65:13. It says, therefore thus saith Yahweh power, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Right? So whilst other people are going hungry, dying of starvation, this, that, and the other, right? The prophets of the Lord, the elect of the Lord, they're gonna be all right. Right? It says, behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. Right? So yet once again, we're gonna be confident in the scriptures. We're in the flesh, so we might be a little shaken or whatever, but ultimately we're gonna be excited. We are excited. We're seeing what's happening at the moment, and once again, when it's flesh, it might be a bit shaky, but at the end of the day, that's just the flesh. We know in the spirit that all these things must needs come to pass, right? and we gonna be all right. All right. So since I quoted it, let me grab it real quick. This is Romans 15 and 4. So I didn't guess right. It says that Romans 15 and 4. So for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through the patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. Right now I read you there 4 accounts, right, spanning through history, right, of when the Lord made it in miraculous ways, food being able to eat. Sorry, his the people who he wanted to feed miraculously were able to get fed, right? So these are things that give us comfort. These are things that give us hope that in these times we're going to be all right. All right, so as always, Lord's what I was edifying. Till the next time, Shalom.